I want to be the last speaker, so I'll try to make it quick. Just an attempt to plant a seed in those who are in this audience that are entrusted to develop properties for Jamaat in their respective chapters, to let them know about availability of resources that IEEE has, and they can save a lot of cost and guide your project and process so we don't fall into cost overruns and other challenges that we have seen over these last 15, 20 plus years when Jamaat has grown now. We need to develop a robust system where there are some input from IEEE experts, and we have a whole team of engineers and architects and planners who can help us on this. So I'll continue with this real quick. The basic purpose of this presentation is to put that idea in your heads that we do have in-house capabilities that Jamaat can tap on. There's a Quranic reference that talks about, remember when your Lord said to the angels, I'm going to place a successive human authority on earth. So what we believe, what it means is that there's somebody who's a stewardship or representative to develop an orderly world. And that's what this verse alludes to, that there would be my representatives who would guide humanity further. What is site development? We all know it. Many of the doctors that are here, they love buying properties and selling properties, so they know what is site development, due diligence processes. So this is just a little synopsis of why it matters, because it would save you dollars. And if you do your site due diligence early, you can save a whole lot of time and grief from happening later on. What the IEEE due diligence team brings to the table, we have, as I said, planners, environmental engineers, geotechnical engineers, civil, structural, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, architects, and many more. So by bringing them all together, we can go through your plan and then give you a list of risk factors. We can create a risk register that will tell you what you should be looking for and guide you through the process. Some of the categories are on this list. I'm not going to go through them, but there are a whole, depending on the complexity of the project. If it's a simple development, it might be a very small list. But if it's as we understand, we are buying properties, larger properties for jalsagas and other facilities, then this list will come really handy. Timing matters. Sometimes we tend to buy property and say, okay, let's figure out later what we're going to do with it or how we're going to do it. Not the right approach. Let's put our processes in place, go through due diligence process. A lot of these large developers, either they're public or private, they go through this rigorous process and they pay consultants like us to come up with a list of due diligence items, and there are sometimes costs 1% to 2% of the entire project cost to do an early due diligence. And many times when we do these processes for them, then they have to make a decision whether it's a go, no go, or whether they can negotiate a price to factor in those costs. So some of these things come in play. It's just not financial. We saw what happened in Texas when there was a flood at a campsite. So what happened there was some smart engineer, with the help of owner, decided to not pay the flood insurance rate maps. So they asked FEMA to remove their site from the flood ways and floodplains. And guess what happened? The river flooded and they get washed away. So one life was too many to lose. That's why there's no shortcuts. Get the process in. Whenever we develop any property anywhere in the U.S., we should always look for life safety first. And then what can Jamaat do for future projects? We can help them understand realistic fiscal commitments and schedules, limitations of property, what you can do and what you cannot do, and then help them during permitting if that project is feasible. This is pretty much it. I went through it really quick. In Quran too, I brought a couple of references. Surah Al-Baqarah says that transparency and honesty in transactions. Then there's Surah Al-Mutaffifin that says avoiding deception. So, don't sell things that are not true. And then Surah Al-Imran says that believers to consult with others before making a decision and then trust in Allah. So it says, do your homework first and then make a decision and then pray. But you don't just start praying and not, do your due diligence. So that's the whole purpose of this presentation. Jazakallah.